And we're back.
Yeah, but I mean, it's to me, it's if he. I don't think there's any proof that he said that.
People heard him say
but
it.
even if he did, the guy talks incessantly. It's just a stupid, jokey thing to say. You cannot brand a guy a racist, a Nazi, for making a comment like that.
That's true. I agree with you. But if he's made a gazillion comments like that.
If you went over your life, Rick, I'm sure there would have been a million comments like that out of your mouth.
I don't necessarily disagree. But
look, is the guy hurting? He's the president of the United States, the most powerful man in the world. Is he hurting black people? Has he instituted a plan to hurt black people?
Well, that's a pretty high bar.
It's not a high bar. That's the problem. It's the only bar you can have.
No,
you can't just say, I don't like him, so he's a racist.
No, but just if you look at his
history. He made
a
joke, so he's a racist. What is he doing to hurt black people? You think Trump sits there and says, you know what? I'm gonna fuck those black people. I'm gonna get them. So here I am. I've got all the power of the presidency. Let's go. Let's get black people. You think he's doing that, Rick? Do you see that?
I don't.
Are there any laws he's passing? Is he trying? Is he sending out troopers?
You're using a very
because
weird definition of racism.
No, it's important because if he isn't, then what difference does it make?
Well,
We're talking about nothing.
Is it racist to not rent to black people?
No. Okay.
Is it?
That was 50 years ago, and it was his father that owned those properties, not him.
They were in business together.
He was 26 years old.
Yeah, so he's been doing this for
no.
47 years.
They settled. You can rent in a Trump apartment and have been
after
able to
they
do
settled
so.
with the Justice Department.
Who knows the details of that?
The New York Times when they wrote it up.
Oh yeah, well I trust the New York Times. They're always very objective about Trump. I want to point out to you.
They didn't know frickin' Trump in 1973.
Rick, I am so sick of you telling me that Trump is a racist that I'm not going to ask you if his racism. So let's suppose, I'm going to indulge you, I'm going to make a Democrat feel good. This will raise your heart. Okay. Let's say Trump's a racist. If he never does anything to harm black people, then what difference does it make?
So you're just saying he's Don Rickles, who makes a bunch of racist jokes.
I don't think he makes a bunch of racist jokes. I don't accept that any of these things you're telling me are verified. But what I'm saying is, even the thing that Democrats do is they want to say to every Republican. By the way, guys, once a week I'm called a racist on Facebook. Okay, so. What Democrats like to do is they like to call people racist. And what I'm responding to you is, if that doesn't mean anything anymore, if nothing ever happens, if Trump doesn't do anything that actually harms people because of this, quote unquote, because he's a racist, then it's meaningless. It doesn't matter. So it's like saying he's a human. What has he done? And if he hasn't done anything to hurt other races...
It seems like he singles out black politicians, at least lately.
So what? They're assholes.
And Latins.
Yeah.
And
Omar and Ayok and Cummings are assholes. These are terrible people.
What did Cummings do? He said that Trump needs to be held to account for...
But, by the way...
What happens when he calls immigrants... murderers and rapists?
Well, okay.
We've argued about that a lot.
He never called Mexicans murderers and rapists. He was saying that we have a problem with unsavory people coming over the border. They're not. We have security problems. They're murderers. They're rapists. So, which is true. There are huge
that
numbers
was the
of
first
criminals.
thing he did. That's how he opened up his campaign.
But he wasn't saying all Hispanics are murderers and rapists.
No, but a guy who bases the thesis of his campaign is that we need to keep bad Mexicans out of the country.
We do.
All right, so that's a
we need to keep bad Mexicans from this country. So yes, it's true.
So I tweeted a few days ago that the things that
There have been 30,000 sexual assaults in the past few years from Mexicans in this country. In the past,
The
I think,
things
2 years.
Trump thinks are problems are not our actual problems.
Those are problems. So the people getting raped, that's a problem.
Except for China. Except for China. I agree with Trump that China's a huge problem. But
has he done anything to harm people of other races?
well, you ask,
He criticized
ask the
Cummings
people,
and
and he also
Now you're saying that by criticizing these politicians who are complete fucking assholes and deserve to be criticized, that makes him a racist. You know that's not true, Rick. You know that all six of those people have done something reprehensible. So you know you're saying something to me that you yourself know is not true.
No, it's the same as the.
You think the reason he criticized Cummings, AOC, and Omar and Tlaib is because he's a racist, not because they're people that he disagrees with?
I think he might be more likely to criticize people of color.
Have you seen the things he says about reporters for CNN, about Beto O'Rourke, about Pocahontas? Oh, that's right. He is a racist because he criticized Elizabeth Warren, and she's a Native American. There you go. You're right. He's attacking Native Americans because he attacked
Elizabeth Warren for claiming to be a Native American
when she isn't.
When she
does that make
very slight.
Does that make him a racist?
Well, he's using a racist kind of term, Pocahontas.
Yeah, he's making fun of her because she deserves it.
So, but
does that make him a racist?
Did Elijah Cummings deserve for him to gloat about Cummings having his house broken into?
Actually, you know what? I have nothing but contempt for Elijah Cummings.
Because why?
Because since all this has come out, about his feud with Elijah Cummings, it turns out, this is a very interesting thing, that Baltimore is a dying city. Baltimore has gone from 1 million people to 500,000 people in the past few years because it has the worst crime rate in the United States. And if it was a country, it would have a worse crime rate than the most murderous countries in the world. The murder rate in Baltimore is off the charts in the world and in the United States. And
is Cummings mayor of Baltimore?
No, but it's his district.
No,
his
district is part of Baltimore.
Yeah, his district includes Baltimore.
Part of Baltimore.
His district includes Baltimore.
Not
the city of Baltimore is in Cummings' district.
They split Baltimore, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong.
Does it matter, Rick?
Well, yeah, because when a city is fucked up, obviously bears some responsibility, but there are a bunch of other people, and he also represents parts of Maryland that aren't as fucked up as Baltimore.
Great, but there's more. It turns out, now this is the part that interests me, the federal government has realized that Baltimore is in this shape, and probably due to Cummings.
Why one guy who's just
you're interrupting me.
Yeah, but you're
interrupting me.
Yeah, but
you're interrupting me.
Yeah, but you're saying
you're not letting me finish. You're not. No. Partly due to Cummings.
All right, partly is
No. He's interrupting me before I make my point. My point is that billions of dollars have been allocated from the federal government to Baltimore. Okay? What I was saying was Cummings is responsible for lots of money being diverted, billions to Baltimore, and no one knows what happened to the money.
Really?
Yeah, and it turns out that Cummings and his wife have become very wealthy.
Then we should look at the article that told you all that.
Yeah, no, it's a series of things. People have wondered.
You read an article, right?
I've heard this for years now. It turns out that Cummings is a very, very wealthy man, and billions of dollars have been diverted to Baltimore, and for some reason, the poverty just keeps going up.
Is there an article? Is there something?
We can look it up.
We should. You want to? We've been going for a long time. You want to look it up?
Do you not believe me? Do you think I'm lying? Is Cummings actually a man that lives in poverty and because he's trying to share his wealth? And am I lying when I say that billions have been diverted to Baltimore and that the money is gone?
I'm just thinking.
Where did that money go? I'm actually curious about.
I want to see.
But I don't think anyone knows.
But I want to see the article that says this much money went to Baltimore and we don't know where it went. Because there must be, if we Googled it.
But the point, we can.
Let's do that.
My point is, you're not going to find any answer because no one knows where it went.
Yeah, but somebody.
The poverty just kept increasing.
Yeah, but if you look
and Mr. Cummings just keeps getting more wealthy.
I would bet you could.
I
let me play into your hand.
I believe Cummings is corrupt.
So let's okay. So it's simple. Let's Google. Let's Google this. Let's just Google this because that'll be quick.
Okay.
Let's Google Elijah Cummings corrupt, and we'll get a bunch of articles and we'll read them off camera, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking you a question. Okay, fine.
But also, I'm about to play into your hands because I'm going to say Detroit, and you're going to say, oh, another Democratic city. But the deal is, like you said, Baltimore lost half its population.
Yes.
I would think that there are a dozen or more big Midwestern and East Coast cities that lost 30% or more of their populations as they deindustrialized over the past 60 years. And Baltimore may be, the shining example of that, but I don't think it's completely unusual.
Well, I can tell you this, okay? I am not an expert on why each city declines, except the one thing I do know for certain is that crime is the biggest factor in destroying a city. So once the crime rate skyrockets, people start moving out of the neighborhoods and the businesses go under. So I believe that Baltimore has demonstrably one of the worst crime rates in the world, and that's the reason.
I would say that that's more I would guess that Baltimore was in decline before the crime rate went crazy. I would think that it was the loss of industry across the eastern third of the U.S., the northeastern.
Okay, here's the thing. The old argument, liberals always say that poverty causes crime. And I think the new, more enlightened view is, no, actually crime causes poverty.
But I would say that underlying the whole thing is the loss of industry.
I think what.
But anyway, let's look up. Let's take a break. Let's look up Elijah. Yeah. What do you want?
Just answer. How much, on a scale from 1 to 10, Rick, would you say in the lines that Trump's, just to settle this issue, Trump's rhetoric influenced the shooter who shot Mexicans, aimed for Mexicans in El Paso? Repeat the question.
Like in the mid-9s. How much did Trump's rhetoric influence the shooter, the El Paso shooter, who had a Trumpy manifesto? So I put him, probably shy of 10, but I'd probably go 9.5. Maybe it wasn't his only influence, but it was demonstrably one of his influences. Now, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it turns out that the guy was very concerned about what he called the Mexican invasion of the U.S. And given that we're getting 1 million illegal aliens from Mexico over the border every year, that is a legitimate concern. He doesn't need to be whipped up by Trump. I mean, everybody should be concerned about it. But it also turns out that this fellow was very concerned about global warming.
That's true.
And he was concerned about a variety of leftist causes. I forgot each one. But his concerns were across the board from left to right. So you could also say that Al Gore whipped him into concern. The fact that he only shot Mexicans, I don't know if he did that as a way of stopping what he called the Mexican invasion, or whether they were the people that he could get at easiest.
No, he thought, I believe, and they're still sorting it out, but the Mexicans were coming over here and putting stress on the environment.
All right. Okay, putting stress on the environment. All right. So let's. But I would say Trump. So what are you going to do? Just in order to prevent crazy people from shooting Mexicans, we'll just have to open the borders and say there is no problem with immigration. We'll just have as many illegals come over as possible and not bother them because we might upset some crazy people. It doesn't make any sense. You can't make policy based on what a crazy person might do when they hear your concern.
All right, let's take a break.
All right.
115 point something. All right, so we read about Elijah Cummings. According to one article, in 2015, he was worth less than $1.2 million, making him the 196th richest member of Congress, right in the middle. Which is, I mean, it's not that much money for having worked a good job for, I don't know, 30 years. Also, I looked in the National Review, an article on Cummings, figuring they're conservative, they're going to really tear him a new butthole. And they said, if you think that his district of Baltimore and some other place is a crime-filled hellscape like you've seen on The Wire, you're wrong. Cummings' district is the second richest minority black district in the country with a median income of $58,000. Now, Lance found...
Well, let me say what I found.
Okay.
Okay. So, that's not... As soon as this whole thing blew up, the Democrats jumped in and said, well, there's this really rich area in Cummings' district as well. But that doesn't mean anything, because if the city in his district is the most crime-ridden in the country, and there happens to be a good area in that district, that doesn't mean anything. There's good parts of town all over the country.
Yeah, but his part of Baltimore is good.
No, there's no evidence of that. Baltimore is in his district, and it's one of the worst places in the country, and there are good areas in his district. That doesn't mean anything.
Johns Hopkins?
Yeah, that was built long before the Democrats destroyed that city. But it's a very old hospital. Let me continue. It also turns out that Elijah Cummings, as we know, is a millionaire. Certainly not a man of the people anymore.
He's right in the middle of
Cummings. But in his most recent financial disclosure, it turns out that he had to list that his wife got $500,000 for overseeing a charity, and that this charity has now been accused of corruption. His wife has used her charity to funnel hundreds of thousands of dollars into her private LLC. Moreover, his wife, her charity receives funding from organizations with interests before her husband's committee. So in other words, he's making decisions that affect her charity and have made her wealthy. Moreover, she gets a private fee, apparently, some sort of 5% just for management fees. They're called quote unquote management fees. And we don't really know why. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Cummings is corrupt, and that he and his wife have got a sweetheart deal going. The same as Maxine Waters, same thing. she's also corrupt. Another woman that wants Trump impeached because and a member of Congress, and she also got wealthy and dealt with things that was before her committee that were helping her husband, who's a banker, who also got rich. So I would say that I'm going to go ahead out on a limb and say that Cummings is corrupt. Yes.
All right. So anyway, the article that Lance is reading from appeared in the Daily Caller, which is a super right-wing deal, and the charges were leveled by a right-wing investigatory dealie.
Yeah, those damn right-wingers. They actually don't. They don't want your wife to be able to be in charge of a business that you, as a congressman, are deciding financial things for. If you're a congressperson, your wife should have nothing to do with the decisions you're making. Any business she's connected to should not come before your committee. So I even
did it really come through?
Yes,
This is from the Daily Caller.
All right. Do we need to look it up again?
Sure. Find me
Okay.
that.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
But let's do some math. Let's say that Cummings'
No,
wife.
let's not do any math.
I get to do math. It's my deal.
It's so
Cummings' wife was, according to the accusation, she was paid roughly $250,000 to run this deal over a 3-year period. That works out to roughly $85,000.
It's a 2-year period.
Well, all right, 2 years. Okay, fine. That's $125,000 a year. That's a nice income.
According to the Washington Examiner,
another right-wing dealie, right?
Rick, either she is part of this charity that has interests that were before her husband's committee, or she doesn't. It doesn't matter if they're right-wingers.
Find me this in a less right-wing. Find me this in a less right-wing.
So the Daily Caller's not good enough. The Washington Examiner's not good enough.
No, they're both super right-wing.
Well, look,
find me something more neutral.
Okay,
it doesn't have to be the Washington Post.
Turn off the camera.
Just real quick for both of you, didn't the Trump Foundation have to be shut down?
Yeah, for fraud. Yeah, the Trump Foundation had to be shut down for fraud and self-dealing. And the reason Trump is attacking Cummings is because Cummings, as head of the House Oversight Committee, says Trump needs to be investigated. And I think he did. 118 Democratic members of Congress and a former Republican member of Congress have all now said that impeachment hearings into Trump need to start. But then if you look at the people in Congress who've said it, and been attacked by Trump, there seems to be a commonality that might be, anyway.
Isn't he getting a little, also because they're trying to get him to release his tax forms, could there be a little bit of...
Well, he's fighting him on everything. Trump is fighting to hold on in court, and just by not turning stuff over. And via William, he doesn't want to turn over any information, including his tax form. So
okay, here's a third source. So
again, Capital Research Center. Find me something that's not right wing.
Wait. I've got the Daily Caller, the Washington Examiner, the Capital Research Center. According to the Capital Research Center, Elijah Cummings' wife used her charity to enrich her for-profit company. Documents show. This,
that's the same fucking article from the Daily Caller. It's the same article.
Okay.
It's the same.
Does her charity receive funding from organizations with interests before her husband's congressional committee?
Find me a source that's not the Daily Caller, which is farther right than Breitbart.
Okay.
That is word for word what you just showed me, just on a different website.
The National Legal and Policy Center.
Which is a right-wing...
The National Legal and Policy Center?
Is right-wing. It's fucking right-wing.
How do you know?
Because. Look it up.
Oh, and by the way, it says that in her latest financial disclosure, it was $500,000.
No, it says, it's right in front of your face. Between $250,000 and $500,000. So that's somewhere between.
The NLPC the National Legal and Policy Center filed an IRS complaint against Rocky Moore Cummings Charity in May,
So you should be able
alleging that companies with interest before the House Oversight Committee are potentially buying favorable treatment from the congressman through their donations to the charity.
So find me a less right-wing website
I
that brings
can't-
it up. Because
Rick,
if it's legitimate,
Rick,
then somebody's
Rick,
going to report it.
Really, the New York Times is going to bury this.
No,
Rick.
but
Rick,
give me
Rick.
something that's less fucking right-wing.
I found you
You
two
found me
sources.
you found me the same
No,
article
I
listed
found you
twice.
3 sources: the Daily Caller, the National Legal.
No,
whatever
the Daily
it was.
Caller is reporting on the National Legal, which is a right-wing thing.
But
Find
the
me
Daily
something.
Caller also had things.
No, it had the same article.
Okay, documents released. Okay, here we go. Documents reveal. Now this is, let me find it. IJR. Financial
You can click on
documents.
IJR. What's IJR, by the way?
Hang on, I just want to make sure. Okay, this is the same, the Daily Caller Foundation.
Yeah.
IJR reporting.
Just click on About. It'll tell you what the IJR is.
Well, they're, what if they're not Democrats, Rick?
Well, let's just see who they are.
Okay.
I mean, you know who they are. Come on.
Well, so what if it turns out that Democrats don't want to report about this? Does that mean it never happened?
No, but I would like to see, like, not...
They're fair, independent. What do you want me to find out? Here,
Here,
it's
can I
just
see
an
your computer?
independent
Let me
news.
click on...
No, now you're going to go to Wikipedia and they're going to say they're
No,
a
I'm
bunch
not.
of
I'm
Nazis.
just,
They're
no,
racist. They're
no,
racist.
I'm just going to click on their informational shit because you're not... Let's see. We don't even know what IJR stands for. International Journalism Review is my guess.
Okay.
While
well,
he's looking, you were in a war on Facebook, right?
Oh, the Democrats are going to destroy a mural of George Washington in a public school up in San Francisco. And so I just wanted to point out the Democrats, they're not even removing this mural. They're destroying it. So Democrats love vandalizing art. It's part of being a Democrat is that you want to shut up the opposition. It's part of the way all dictatorships. When you're a Democrat, you need to control speech. That's why.
Well, just tell us the story.
Well, they're going to destroy a mural of George Washington because George Washington is a racist, and also, if you criticize a black congressperson, you must also be a racist.
If 118 congresspeople have said that the impeachment hearings need to start, and out of the 12 or so you've criticized, like half of them are Latino or black,
then you're a racist, right?
You might be a little racist. Again, I like
But-
the overall, like...
So he's looking up, right now he's looking
I did
up
look it up
Wikipedia,
on Wikipedia. I did. I
which
said
is
I wasn't...
a left-wing organization, and they're going to tell him whether the Independent Journal Review
is a conservative American news and opinion website.
According to Wikipedia, which
they
is left-wing.
They list 5 sources that it's conservative.
Yeah, I don't care, Rick.
In
It-
24...
look,
no, wait, hold on. Let's
can
just...
we-
in
did-
2012, Alex Scatale, a former digital director of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, launched the IJR.
Okay, I don't believe Wikipedia.
He's a
any more than
former
you believe-
Republican.
Okay, and IJR said that this newspaper said that Elijah Cummings' wife is corrupt.
But all you have to do is
But
find...
we can't believe it. It never happened. Are you telling me it never happened? If it doesn't appear in the New
I'd
York
like
Times,
to see somebody besides these conservative little fucking websites take the charges seriously
turn
enough
this
to
off
raise...
so that I can find one.
All right.
Is it fake news?
I just want to see one slightly less conservative website take it seriously.
Okay.
Like, what about this? What about this?
IRS complaint filed.
Like, that should be like...
Should I cut?
Yeah.
Okay,
I want to see a slightly more neutral website take it seriously.
Okay, let me just, okay, wait, turn it back on because I'm going to end this.
Okay.
I'm just going to end this. Is it on?
Yeah, just roll.
Okay, listen. Here is the complaint. All right? Now, you can believe it or not. Rick doesn't believe that this is legitimate because it's being reported by, I've now found 4 organizations that are each
It's a
independently
circle jerk.
saying this. Yeah, but
Not
they're all conservative, so he's got it into his head that it never happened. It's not true.
It happened,
But this is the complaint, and those of you in the audience can look this up if you want to, and then we're going to have to move on. According to Form 13909, Tax-Exempt Organization Complaint Referral, the referred organization is called the Center for Global Policy Solutions. All right? It is being referred for directors, officers, persons are using income assets for personal gain. The organization is engaged in commercial, for-profit business activities. The organization is involved in a political campaign. The organization refused to disclose or provide a copy of Form 990. The organization failed to file required federal tax returns and forms. Now, it's
When was
being
this filed?
reported. This was filed on.
It doesn't have a date on that thing. So you got
It was
to, you see when the
filed
article's from.
in the article
2
was
months ago.
posted 2 months ago. So Rick says that it didn't show up in the New York Times. We don't have time to look all night for an organization that will say that this really happened.
No, it did happen.
It
They
did
filed a
happen, but he
complaint.
doesn't believe it. It's just right-wing
Like,
organizations.
I want to see what the frickin' response was,
Their
or I want to.
response is that no, everything's fine, nothing to see.
Can I see
here.
the computer and I'll take a look if I can find a.
No,
less
because
conservative-
I want to go to sleep. Can we change the subject?
All right, fine. Let's talk about one last thing, which is I helped my wife get a car lease over the weekend, and maybe some of you haven't gone through this, but it has getting a car, which is expensive, has certain things in common with getting a house, where the business model is such that people can charge you, can add on extra charge, because you're looking at a big chunk of change. And people can slide in like garbage charges that, or not necessarily garbage charges, but charges that you can get them to either discount or get rid of if you get pissy about it. And the business model for buying a car is, and car dealers have a right to make money. They're in business. But if you go in there and accept the first price they give you, you might end up paying more than you have to. And there are some car companies, like I think Carvana has a no haggle policy, which is supposed to protect you and get you a price that's already had some of the puffery squeezed out of it. But if you walk into a regular dealership, you should be prepared. You should have done your research to find out what people are paying and what some of the charges that aren't altogether necessary might be. And you should plan to spend, the last time you shopped for or negotiated for a car, how long did you spend in there?
20 minutes.
20 minutes? Wow, we spent like 3 hours. You think you got a good deal?
It was all right, yeah.
Dude, what'd you tell them? And what'd they tell you?
Okay, I went in there with a guy that was very rich and liked to negotiate, and he took classes at Harvard on negotiation. And he found out, he gave him a price, and then he sat down with him. And before the documents were actually signed, they said, now, of course, there are these other little things.
Yes.
It's just another $300 here and there. And every time he said that, Every
The
time the
sales
salesman
guy.
said that, my friend would stand up and say, "You're changing the deal. I'm walking out." And he would walk out. And then they would stop and say, all right, forget it. We won't do that.
That's a big deal. You have to be prepared to walk away from the deal because they will hit you with extra stuff. You might see a price online. That's, for a lease, for instance, might be $2,500 down and $220 a month. That's before tax. The tax in LA is 9.5%. So that's going to, over the course of a lease, that could be another $1,200.
Did you read The Art of the Deal?
I did not read The Art of the Deal. But anyway, you gotta, for getting a lease, they will try to hit you with a $650 loan origination fee. And they say, well, we can't do anything about that. That money goes to the bank for setting up the loan because the bank actually owns the car you're leasing and they're loaning you the car for 3 years generally. And then you say, well, nope, that seems like bullshit. And we got them to knock it in half. I don't know if you can get it knocked down any further than that. They have these other things like they have clear coat protection. And on the car we were looking at, it was $800. We're like, well, what exactly is that? Turns out it's little pieces of clear plastic, 5 pieces of them. One on the edge of each door, only about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch wide, so that when your door opens, the edge of the door doesn't get dinged or it doesn't it's like just these little pieces of plastic, like the size of straws. And then there was a 5th one that protected your back bumper area when you pull luggage out of your car. They wanted $800 for that, for 5 pieces of plastic. And there were 3 other charges like that added up to about $3 grand. We're like, no, these are for bullshit things. And so anyway, you have to. Lance's buddy got the negotiation done in 20 minutes. It took us 3 hours. But the deal is you have to go in there and you have to lowball them, and then you have to fight them over the extra charges, and it takes a while. And generally, it's like a play where you start with a sales guy, and he gives you he goes, we can sell it to you for this. And you go, no, that's too high. And he goes, well, I have to get my boss. And generally, then the boss comes in, and then there's some back and forth, still too high, still too high. And then generally, there's a 3rd boss who comes in. So after the 3rd boss is, if you've managed to hold the price down or get it down to closer to what you think is reasonable based on your internet research, then you get close to a deal. Then they bring you to the finance guy, and the finance guy for a lease says, well, we have wear and tear insurance. That is, when you turn in the car after 3 years, if there's too much damage to the car, they're going to ding you for $5,000. We can sell you an insurance policy for $1,400. And you're like, fuck no. And you walk away from that and they go, all right, we'll sell it to you for $700. Or they sell it to you on a per month basis, because if you did but you have to do the math. Yeah, okay, it's just going to add $20 a month to your lease. 20 times 35 is $700. You go, no, that's $700. Bullshit. And then we got them, and you go online, and you sit there, you have to take your time, and you can't feel embarrassed that they seem annoyed that you're taking your time. You go online and you see, well, the dealership gets that policy for between $300 and $500, and you're like, no, that's bullshit. And then half the people we read about online said it's a terrible thing, half said it's good. So we got it for roughly $390, which seemed like we weren't getting fucked too bad. But anyway, that's the deal. It takes you go back and forth a lot. They hit you with extra charges. You question every charge. You insist even when they say they can't get rid of them. Yeah, get rid of them. Be ready to walk away from the deal. The end, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Just real quick, can you comment on that, Amy?
This is just another miracle that I accomplished, and it will never be. I'll never get my due because it's a good piece, and I haven't been able to show it in a museum or a gallery, so it just goes right to the owner. And I hope you have good light on it. Here, I'll get more light on it. but I really think it's. Can you see without glare?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice piece, and I just hope someday, if there's anybody watching this who'd like to get a museum to give me a show for my portraits, that would be great.
In 2080, this will be in the it'll be in the museum of cool shit humans did before half-human robots took over.
By the way, do you have a robot artificial intelligence report? Anything
No, I mean,
that you've read?
just, I mean, you can, yeah, I subscribe to some news feeds, but I think they disappeared from my, I don't see bulletins from them that much anymore. But, you know, machine learning robots that are programmed to teach them to, machine learning is where a robot can use feedback to judge its performance. Doesn't mean robots are conscious or computers are conscious. It just means that there are feedback systems which evaluate which strategies are effective. And, you know, machine learning feedback systems have now, you know, become the world's leading experts at Go, at chess, at a bunch of different video games,
It's too bright.
at translating.
It's over.
You know, robots that use the same kind of systems of feedback that we use are kicking ass at a lot of shit.
All right. So I would just like to say that this painting was done without the use of a camera. I did it all by myself. I painted it from a live model. So there you go. And I tried to use a camera to get the pattern of the clothing on him, but in the end I had to actually just borrow the shirt and paint the shirt 6 inches away from, I had to put the shirt up 6 inches away from my painting and just copy it. So
When he brought in that shirt, were you like, oh no, fuck
no,
it.
actually I picked it because it looked good. So you can't be afraid of giving yourself too much work. Your goal has to be to do the best possible job. All right, let's pass.
So you know, like a legitimate artist will want you to keep your very nice shirt on. If you go into an artist's place and it's in the basement and there's wood paneling and the artist says, yeah, let's see how you look with your shirt off. You should probably get out of that basement.
All right, good night.